registering to this webinar to, if you would like, to please share, untap your camera so we can take a picture of everyone. Actually, I'm just gonna stop sharing so I can take a bigger picture with everyone in the screen so that we have everyone. Smile, please. Thank you. So we will start recording now. I will share my screen and give the floor to my colleague, Ivana Stojanovic from S.Pro. Please, Ivana. Okay.
Thank you so much, Neze. I will wait for you to share the screen. Okay. I hope now you can all see the screen. Once more, good afternoon. Thank you much for joining us. We are very happy to have this continuation of series of webinars under MSP4BIO project. As some of you might know, MSP4BIO is in its final months of implementation. So yeah, this is basically the first webinar in a series that we will have until the end of the project. Yeah, we will hear a bit more about the webinar in a minute, but before that, we would like to ask you for more efficient interaction to use the Q&A section of Teams. So for this webinar, to ask questions, you will see there the possibility to start a post, and then for those who are interested in similar or same questions, you can just like them or comment below. But in any case, we will be checking both chat and Q&A section to check for any comment, question, etc. So please, we really also want to hear from you. In addition to that, if you would like to take the floor, you can raise your hand either after presentations or in the dedicated Q&A section that will be available in line with the agenda. So to present briefly the agenda, maybe Agnese, you could go to the next slide. So after the introductory words, we will introduce MSP4BIO project and the main outcome of the project, the ecological socioeconomic framework, for those who are not maybe so familiar with the project, and then continue with presentations from each of our test sites, aiming to really present to you the experience and the results of each of the test sites of testing and deploying the tools that have been developed in MSP4BIO project. Next slide, please. After all the presentations from different test sites, in the middle we will also have the Q&A session. We will have final discussions and then also conclusions. So yes, these are the main, let's say, rules for how we would like to have and keep this webinar effective and efficient and hopefully interesting for all of you. And maybe just to say that we would really like this huge amount of work done under a dedicated deliverable of the project that you can find on our website to really, have an insights on all the results, to show these applications of different tools and strategies, and also collaborations that have been established in the project that also contributed to the co-creation of these results. I will now pass the word to Margherita from CCMS to continue the introductory part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivana, for this nice introduction. Okay, so I'm Margarita Stancheva. I represent the Center for Coastal and Marine Studies in Bulgaria. We are partners in the MSP4BIO project, and we call it the Work Package 5, and in particular the Deliverable 5.3. So we are very happy to welcome you all today at this first MSP4BIO webinar and to really showcase our results from testing and application in our MSP4BIO test sites. So I really hope that you will find the webinar insightful and valuable for you. And we are looking forward to our productive discussion today for your valuable feedbacks also. Okay, so just very short introduction. Ivana, can you just back to shortly present the MSP4BIO test? Okay, no, one forward. Thank you. Okay, so we have established 6 test sites in the MSP4BIO project. So across the 5 UC basins involved in the project, one for Baltic Sea, one in the North Sea, 2 test sites in Atlantic, one in Mediterranean, which actually include France and Italy, one in the Black Sea, which is a cross-border test site, including Bulgaria and Romania. So in the Baltic Sea is a test site that includes the entire Baltic Sea basin. In the North Sea, it includes Belgium part of the North Sea, and in the Atlantic, the 2 test sites are for Azores, Graciosa Island, and also Cadiz Bay. Next slide. Okay, so the test sites that we have selected in the MSP4BIO represents diverse and different domains from coastal, onshore, also transboundary, cross-border, sea basin, as I've already mentioned in the previous slide. But they also reflect many different environmental and socioeconomic challenges, priorities which are related to the current stages of national maritime special plans, and also to the current stage of the MPA management processes. So Deliverable 5.3, which is focused on the site-specific solutions for accelerating biodiversity protection and restoration in the context of maritime spatial planning, showcases and demonstrates all this diversity reflected by the 6 MSP4BIO test sites. This deliverable mainly showcases and outlines the results from the applications of the MSP4BIO ecological socioeconomic framework and its decision support tools in each of the test sites. This supported the development of site-specific solutions in order to accelerate this biodiversity protection and restoration within the MSP context. So we, reflecting on the diversity of the different needs in the test sites, we elaborated a wide range of special and strategic solutions in each of the test sites, and these solutions were co-created and validated with the established MSP4BIO communities of practice via iterative stakeholder interactions during the entire project. The deliverable also consolidates and synthesizes these various tailored to each test site solutions, which range from proposals for new marine protected areas or enlargement of existing ones, but also supporting efforts to restoration measures or some targeted measures for specific blue economy sectors, knowledge improvement and understanding, but also making the stakeholder engagement process stronger. And at the end, the deliverable highlights also key challenges and benefits for the implementation of proposed solutions, as well as also identify different enablers and barriers for the results uptake and potential for their scalability, and thus contributed to the following up Deliverable 5.4, which is focused on the final recommendations tailored to each sea basin for the results scalability beyond the test sites across Europe and even globally. And if you would like to dive deeper into the deliverable and site-specific solutions, as well as identify challenges and barriers and findings, please follow up the MSP4BIO website and read the deliverable. There is also this is under our publications section. The deliverable is still under review, but it has been published, and there is also a very interesting brief blog post on our news section. So enjoy the reading, and once again, welcome to the webinar. I really hope that you will find it helpful and insightful. And now I'm passing the floor to Ivana Stojanovic, which is MSP4BIO project coordinator, to briefly present the MSP4BIO project. Thank you.
Thank you, Margherita. And once more, since more people joined, just to say welcome. I will give a very brief overview of MSP4BIO project. So as to set the scene for the following presentations and discussions that will follow. Not everyone is familiar with the project. So MSP4BIO stands actually for a project which is bringing closer processes of marine conservation and maritime spatial planning. It's, as I said, in the final months of its implementation. It will run officially until the end of July this year. It's a project that works in 6 test sites across all European sea basins. You saw the map, and actually for this project, also for that reason, there are 18 partners from all these different sea basins. We have cooperated a lot with our sister projects, so mainly 3, but many more. And also, yes, I will mention the pillars. So the overall budget was around 3.5 million euros. Next slide, please. So the overall goal of the project is really to support the implementation of policies, primarily the Convention on Biological Diversity, post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, as well as EU Biodiversity Strategy and European Green Deal. But not only, also different EU directives and legislation such as Maritime Spatial Planning Directive. Going back to pillars and this integrative character of the project, it actually brings together 4 pillars, so 4 dimensions: environmental, policy, socioeconomic, and then this integrative context, which is actually starting from improving the knowledge base for better prioritization of areas for protection and restoration, and also integrating these socioeconomic aspects. With all this, there is also policy as almost not a cross-cutting, but almost an area covering different aspects where we went from really analyzing policy coherence to proposing solutions on how to better integrate all these processes. So next slide, please. In line with this, the main objective was to really develop and demonstrate management framework. So integrating all these different dimensions that I just mentioned that will be presented shortly. So I will not go into details, but just to say that this framework should actually allow for prioritization of strategic and spatial conservation management measures. Next slide, please. So yes, these are the test sites. Again, since Margherita already presented the diversity of test sites and how this diversity contributed to the robustness actually of these tools and solutions that MSP4BIO project was developing, which are part of the ESA framework. Next slide, please. And these are basically the main results, but also different components of the framework. I will briefly mention that we started with an EU-wide overview of biodiversity data, which is a database available on our website as well. And then proceeded with the ecological toolkit composed of different decision support tools. Then on the socioeconomic side, really participatory development of integrated trade-off scenarios, so methodologies for that, and also for wood management practices in blue economy sectors, and then policy coherence solutions. In addition to that, we have just published the guide for MPMSP strategic integration. In all this, the purpose of this webinar is also these 6 demonstrators that we had in different MSP4BIO test sites. This final product, the as a framework, as we call it, will be in the form of a website and a file, which will be shown to you in a second. Next slide, please. And all this is being made primarily for the maritime spatial planners, but also MPA managers, authorities, and so on. Next slide. I think I'm concluding MSP4BIO partnership. On the next one, there should be QR codes to sign up for the newsletter and also to easily access the website that we refer to many times, but really all our resources are available for public access there. Thank you so much, and I pass it back to you, Margherita.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ivana. We are now moving to the presentation of the main outcome of the MSP4BIO project, the ecological and socioeconomic integrated management framework. And I pass the floor to our next speaker, which is Martina Bocci. She's a researcher and MSP and MPA expert at the National Council of Research in Venice, Italy. And she will present and also one of the main developer of the EC framework in the MSP4BIO. So I pass the floor to Martina. Martina, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Margherita. Good afternoon, all. I'm happy here to illustrate to you these achievements. I would say this is not really the main achievement because the project has very relevant achievements. It's more a sort of a summary output, and these results are still in progress because we are finalizing these socioeconomic and ecological management framework by the end of the project in July. What is this EASY framework, this ecological and socioeconomic management frameworks? In practice is a guidance. It's a methodological guidance aiming to support practitioners in prioritizing marine protection in MSP. It is including suggestions from integrating social, economic, and ecological considerations in a unified framework. It is based and founded on the management needs from the stakeholders. And it has been developed through the definition of a portfolio of relevant questions linked to these management needs and related answers that are provided by the available solutions created within the project. So it's a sort of guidance to access to all the different solutions the MSP4BIO project has provided. The next slide, please. It is very important for us to say that the users and their needs were at the cornerstone of the designing and realization of this framework. So every step was discussed and then verified with the test sites and the community of practice that we have established in the test sites. So from the initial concept to the detailed logic design, to the first feedback on the first draft of the framework, all these steps were discussed and the feedback from stakeholders was considered. The next slide, please. In a nutshell, this is the conceptual model for this framework. At the root, you can see the users, marine planners, competent authorities, MPA managers, decision makers, but also relevant stakeholders in the process. They do have, across the European sea basins, different but significant management needs and some detailed management questions. We have collected them, and by the guidance, we do propose some answers to these questions. The answers are provided on the basis of the results of the application of the so-called easy modules. These are the core elements of the framework, and these modules are applied in the different contexts by following a sort of step-by-step process, and there is a sort of list of practices like operational instructions on how to apply the modules that the project has provided. Answers are based on application of criteria, governance criteria, socioeconomic criteria, ecological criteria, and also to the possible application of operational approaches like decision support tools. Examples of, sorry, the previous one. Examples of good cases like measures and of policy solutions are also included. The next one now, thank you. Okay, we have collected a number of management questions related to different test sites and related also to different management needs. And there was a sort of a clusterization and hierarchization of the different questions. The next one, please. Yeah, and this is the core engine of the guidance, the easy modules. Namely, there are originally 3, but now 4 main easy modules: the ecological toolkit, the module for collecting the criteria for representation of the social and economic dimension of MPAs. A specific guidance based on the trade-off method for embedding the protection and restoration in MSP, and some example of nature inclusive operations of blue economy sectors, a very relevant catalog of good experience. And in addition, we are embedding now policy solutions from another component of the project. Answers to relevant questions are provided by suggesting the application of a single module or by integrating different module approach. Yes, the next one. Okay, by undertaking the project activities, we understood that it was not enough to write a deliverable with a sort of document, with the guidance in the form of a document. So we decided to upgrade our expectations and to develop a web tool incorporating all these contents in a web platform. And if I'm now allowed, just I take 1 minute to guide you through the draft version of this platform, which is still under construction. And I hope you can see my screen. Please, somebody can feed me back about the visibility on my screen.
Yes, yes.
Yes, great. So you will find, when this will be released, you will find some introduction to the overall project and to the different components. You will find some glossary definitions, because there are a lot of definitions and terminology. You will find some brief description, summaries of the contents of the different deliverables of the project, which are the foundation of the system of the guidance, the ecological toolkit, the criteria for representation of socioeconomic dimension of MPAs, and so far, so forth. As end users, you will be you can go through the management needs, overarching management needs, for example, strengthening conservation, and you can browse into details, some detailed questions that have been formulated at test site level in relation with this overarching goal. And for example, you can see there are different level of details of these questions. And you can access to some answers, and answers are given by a conceptual model driving you across the possibility to access to different operational approaches and core methods. And you have some suggestions coming from the different modules, the different easy modules, and some elements for operational application with some tips. We call them implementation details, and some also suggestions for data to be used to answer your questions, and also some examples of very good practices already available on the ground. I think I have to close it here because I know time is limited, and so I thank you for your attention, and I'm available for any question you might have. I give you back the floor, Margherita. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Martina. Indeed, if there are any questions, please write them in the questions and answers sections, or keep them for the session that we will have at the end of our first part of presentations. And now we are happy to move to the next session of our webinar to showcase and to demonstrate how the different modules and tools are integrated in this really complex and but on the other hand flexible MSP4BIO ecological socioeconomic integrated framework in different test sites. So with our proposed solution based on the application and testing of the tools tailored to each test site. So we start now with the first presentation, which is for Cadiz Bay test site, for the Atlantic Ocean test site 1, and it will be presented by our colleague Javier Garcia Sanabria, and he's actually lead of the test site in Cadiz Bay. He's researcher on MSP and ICZM at the University of Cadiz in Spain. So Javier, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Margarita. Good afternoon to everyone. Yeah, I'm happy to present this interesting test site. The Cadiz Bay, as you can see there in the images, is located in the southwest part of Spain. It's close to Gibraltar Strait, and also in the other side is limiting with the Portugal marine areas. So in this place, what we have is the Spanish South Atlantic Marine Demarcation, which is one of our 5 MSP regions in Spain. And within this marine demarcation, what we have is a really relevant place, which is the Bay of Cadiz. You can read there some of the natural and physical characteristics of the Cadiz Bay. But what I want to share now is that in the Cadiz Bay, what we have is one of the most populated areas in Andalusia. It's surrounded by municipalities, a lot of population, a lot of uses and activities in a natural place, which is characterized by these traditional activities that has been allocated there for generations. I mean, from the time of Phoenicians, the Cadiz Bay has been transformed into salt pans, and a lot of activities have been taking place from that time to now. So what we have here is not exactly a natural place, it's a mixture between a social and natural place. So we approach this test site as a socio-ecosystem. For you to know, Cadiz province is one of the most has one of the most highest rates of unemployment in Europe, not just in Spain, I mean in Europe. So people here have to look for their needs in the way they can. That is the reason because we have more than 1,000 stakeholders doing illegal activities in the Cadiz Bay. So we have there a challenge regarding the social dimension as well as in the natural dimension, and we have to approach these test sites as a socio ecosystem to be able to arrive to a good point of solution. So I'm giving the floor now to Camila Pegorelli, to my colleague Camila, which is going to explain you a bit more about the diagnosis that we have done here through a participatory analysis. Camila, floor is yours.
Thank you, Javi. Hello, everyone. So I will present the management questions. As Martina was explained, there were needs here in our test sites that were transform management questions so it could be answered. For Cadiz Bay, the main management questions that we have is related to the culture of collaboration. And this means the collaboration between and among institutions that have the responsibility here in the administration of the Cadiz Bay. We also have questions related to how to transform like participation in a really engagement and co-creation process, like the involvement be more effective. And then we also have a question related to the participation as a culture and how to transform the cultural behavior of participate in this process to support the management of the CADS area. And the last one is connected to the integrated management of different instruments that we have in the region. So, but how we arrived on these questions, right? So how was the process of building to these questions? This is what I'm going to explain very quickly in the next slides, and then Javi will go for the solutions. So yes, thank you. So the first step was the first COP interaction that we had. We were trying to identify the gaps in management and governance. And after 15 interviews, we identified that the main issues was related, for example, with the absence of participatory body here for one of the MEPAs we have in the region, the insufficient cooperation that there is among the administration from different levels. Also, the operational limitation, which is related with the human and financial resource that the MEPA has. So they become more a passive player in the region, and the poor integration among the different instruments like MPA and MSP and MSP. So after that, we went for the third COP interaction. Please, next slide. Where we were trying to develop, to engage with the local stakeholders to create a process for trade-offs of the main problems that we could identify in the region. The main objective here beforehand was try to identify some site-specific spatial solutions. And we have our main goals, as you can see here, the political position, the information mapping, what was that? We collect some information of the different sectors that we have in operating in Cadiz Bay, because we have a lack of information on that sense. And then taking advantage and taking as an opportunity to discuss with those different stakeholders, since we had almost 40 participants on this workshop, try to find some conflict resolution. So discuss with them potential trade-offs. Please, next slide. On the left, we can see that we could reach some of those goals, which was, for example, to collect data, special data for the different activities, where they operate. We also could identify the areas which has more overlapping of activities going on, and also leads for more intense use and potential conflicts. And also we could identify between their perception, which was the area more sensitive for climate change. When we try, so the next step would be, okay, let's try to find some solutions for some of these problems that we identify here. However, when we started to discuss with the stakeholders present on the workshop, they couldn't find a consensus, and they prefer to give a step back and not find like a site-specific spatial solution, and say that what the region really needs is more related to the governance system that we have in the Bay, that for them would be improved. So here on the right, we can see the main points that they brought for us on that workshop, which was regarding the education and surveillance, about the integrate management, which is regarding the institutions, coordination, and also the different instruments that are in the area, like the different MPAs and the MSP plan, and the governance improvement, which is related to the administrative framework that is in that area for management and planning of the different activities. So based on these previous results, we went for the next COP interaction and try to create together with other partners some solutions for these main management questions that we identify for the region, and Javi will present some of the solutions.
Well, thank you, Camila. So as Camila said, in the Cadiz Bay, we have a problem of within the management framework, because when we try to solve any conflict that we see, there are several administrations involved, several institutions involved, no mechanism of collaboration, not a unified policy or roadmap to follow. So then there is really a big problem within the management framework to find the solutions. Also with surveillance, as Camila said, we have a problem. We are talking about shallow waters and a lot of illegal users. So the surveillance is really difficult. To access to the area is not easy. And then what we have to do is to try to collaborate with stakeholders in a common initiative to try to solve some of the problems that we have in the Cadiz Bay. So first of all, what we did is to collect all the contributions from local stakeholders, all their proposals, all their concerns, and then together with our colleagues from HELCOM, we developed a draft proposal to address all the problems that the main stakeholders have highlighted. And then we develop a fourth COP interaction trying to validate this proposal in the way that it was presented or in an improved way with working with them. So next slide, please. So the proposal was built mainly through three pillars. First of all, we need a shared agenda to the Cadiz Bay. Our management framework in the Cadiz Bay is mostly sectorial. So what we need is some common objective through the competent institutions and administrations to solve the problem that we have seen in the Bay. We need also that this shared agenda is developed jointly with a fund, with a dedicated fund to develop the shared agenda. Also, we need some capacity building. We need to improve the coordination mechanisms among the relevant institutions and administrations to collaborate in developing this shared agenda. And then we have to foster an effective and proper citizen participation to involve the stakeholders in the development of this shared agenda. Next slide, please, Ivana. Here you have more developed these three pillars. For the first one, what we have seen is a lack of cohesive management framework, ineffective public participation, and weak institutional collaboration, and the need to view to approach the Cadiz Bay as a socio ecosystem. So what we proposed here together with HELCOM was to define a shared agenda, establishing common priorities among sectors and administration and institutions, to recognize land sea interaction in the Cadiz Bay and to integrate also marine planning tools. And we also thought that the University of Cadiz can play a role as a neutral facilitator for achieving those agreements between the the stakeholders, because the University of Cadiz has played this role in the past and it worked. And also the University of Cadiz is seen by the stakeholders as a neutral institution. So it's a good point to use the University of Cadiz as a facilitator there. And then this shared agenda cannot be developed without without a link with a dedicated fund. This dedicated fund has to be built together with the competent administration and institutions. Yeah, and it's just to secure the political support for a long-term management, because this shared agenda is going to be approached to the long term, and to provide stable funding for all the actions that can be developed following the shared agenda. Inspired, we have some inspirations also, some case of success of creating a dedicated fund for a shared agenda. We did, for example, we collaborating in developing the integrated coastal zone management strategy for the Mar Menor Sea in the east side of Spain. In the Mar Menor is a coastal lagoon, a huge coastal lagoon, and there we can agree some common objectives and to develop also a fund for develop those agreements. So it's something that we have done in other parts of Spain. So what were the stakeholders' insights relating to this proposal? So what we found was a strong support for shared agenda and a dedicated fund, but they also highlight some challenges, like the lack of political collaboration and the difficulty to consolidate these funds according to the experience that we have had in the past. And there are also some suggestions coming up from this COP interaction, like, for example, starting by joint declarations, to leveraging existing decrees, and to foster this metropolitan vision. So next slide, please. Okay, this is the second pillar to create capacity building according to this diagnosis, the fragmented governance, and the absence of a Bay Commission. What we have is some organisms for some parts of the bay, but no one with the vision of the entire bay, the poor coordination among institutions. So what we propose to create or reform the existing coordination forums, to establish regular structured meetings among institutions, to ensure integration of various plans and measures, because we have a lot of sectoral plans applying in the bay, and to increase transparency by publishing the meeting minutes. What we have now currently is some bodies for coordination in the natural park, but then when we try to access to the minutes, they are not public, they are not available. And what we know also is that the meetings that they have frequently don't produce any agreement or relevant results. So we have to reform this and to improve coordination with the marine demarcation, with the Marine Spatial Plan, to strengthen regional monitoring committees for marine planning, to expand interministerial, the already existing interministerial committees from advisory roles to decision-making roles, to the decision-making bodies, I mean, and to assign a regional authority to oversee land-sea interaction. What were the stakeholder insights? Well, they saw a bit hateous because coordination forums in the past have failed in the Bail, but they suggest to establish a coast-to-coast commission to overcome this for cross-sectoral collaboration, to improve the regulatory enforcement, and to include private sector participation, promote scenario-based planning, etc. So next slide, please, Ivana. And then the third was to improve the public participation by creating a structured engagement process to create a new governance body for broader representation. The current ones are not for the entire bay, to increase the frequency and quality of participation meetings, focusing these meetings to produce some results, and to publish the minutes of those meetings. And for capacity building, the proposals were to provide training for local authorities or on marine management. And I have to say that some of the managers there don't believe really in public participation as an opportunity, to establish expert chain programs as well. And the third proposal was to facilitate co-creation and cultural integration by developing co-creation workshops, strengthen identity and public engagement through arts, cultures, initiative, and to promote citizen science initiative. The stakeholder saw a strong support for shifting from passive participation to active co-creation. They suggest to use marketing and testimonials from successful regions to inspire participation here in the Bad Bay, as we don't have a huge culture of participation. To link participation efforts with climate change urgency, for example, to mobilize action, to move the flood of the people there, and to engage entrepreneurs in restoring salt flats and coastal areas. The challenges, again, the past inertia, participation has been passive or non-existent. People don't believe really that they can participate. Managers as well, they don't believe that the public participation is an opportunity there, so they need to be trained, they need to be more aligned with this process. So next slide, please, Ivana. And what are we thinking about the future? How to scale up this proposal? What we are doing now is to organize a workshop that is going to be held here in the University of Cadiz the 25th of April. It's a workshop to present this proposal and this thought to a wide community. We have invited also some of the managers and some of the politicians and the decision making here in the Cadiz Bay in a round table to discuss these proposals. And also, Camila has had a really good initiative of creating a real faces video in the Cadiz Bay. So the idea is to interview the real stakeholders in the Cadiz Bay, their thoughts, their problems, their suggestions, and then to bring the Cadiz Bay into the debate for the future and for the improvement of the governance in the Cadiz Bay. Thank you very much. I think this is all. This is the team that we have here in the Cadiz Bay. As you can see, there is a beautiful place with some cultural heritage associated. And the team is here, is Camila. Camila is the researcher that has done most of the work here, an excellent work, I have to say, and also supported by me and by Maria and Javier Garcia-Netti from the University of Cadiz. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Javi and Camila, and big thanks to the entire team, of course. So we are moving to the next site. It's Baltic Sea, and it will be presented by our colleague Kemal Pinarbashi, which is a project coordinator and MSP expert at the Baltic Marine Environment Protection Commission, HELCOM, in Finland. Kemal, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So now we are moving to the Baltic Sea, a bit more north. And our main objectives in our test site's specific solution was understanding the key pressures affecting the HELCOM MPAs and determining which MPAs are the most vulnerable ones. I will wait a minute. I have a technical problem. Sorry, I could not see the presentation. Now I think it's back. Yes. So we also want to align the MSP MPA management processes, enabling planners to account for cumulative pressures and their effects on vulnerable ecosystem components. In the Baltic Sea, we already checked the cumulative impacts in the whole regional perspective, but we did not have any study focusing on the marine protected areas. And also we want to develop some arguments to be used in localized measures to address key pressures, especially in the MPAs, because we realized when we review our marine protected areas, there are so many empty management plans. We call them kind of like paper plans, that the management plans did not have a lot of measures. So we believe that if we can identify the main pressures in the MPAs, it can support us. And also, of course, co-development of planning solutions that incorporate stakeholder input, increasing buy-in and reducing conflicts between economic activities and conservation measures. So basically, we thought that if we can understand the pressures inside of the MPAs, we can take better measures. So in this slide, you see the results of our tool implementation. We used HELCOM SPIA tool specifically for the HELCOM MPAs. In total, we have 188 marine protected areas in the Baltic Sea. These are the HELCOM MPAs. This is an umbrella name that all the Baltic countries are using for their marine protected areas. And here in the middle, you can see a lot of red areas inside of the marine protected area. So it was very surprising results to see, even inside of the MPAs, there is a high level of pressures and upcoming impacts. On the right side up, you can see also one map showing whole impact index in the Baltic Sea and showing the most impacted areas in a regional sea area. So in this slide, now you can also see MPA by MPA, each MPA's average impact score. So you can see again the very red ones, for example, Vaidemene MPA in Estonia, or in the southern area, some of the German MPAs, also including some bottom trawling activities, have really high impact. So these results could help us to identify several things. First, of course, the MPAs with the high impact, but at the same time, we could see which pressures are impacting these MPAs and which ecosystem components are under pressure. So next slide, please. Here, I listed the marine protected areas in the Baltic Sea with highest mean impact level. And from Germany to Estonia to Finland, we identified several marine protected areas with high level of impact. Next slide, please. Here you can see the main pressures inside of the marine protected areas in the Baltic Sea, and it's basically hazardous substances and eutrophication. And these two pressures are the main pressures in the Baltic Sea. We knew that from our regional environmental assessments, but also it was interesting to see that also in the marine protected areas, we have these two pressures as the dominant ones. And then we have physical disturbance, introduction of non-indigenous species, and disturbance of species due to human presence, and other pressures are following these ones. So it was really important to us to realize that, because also it's interesting that hazardous substances and eutrophication are not pressures coming from the sea, but they are coming from the land-based activities. So agriculture, PFAS, or all this industrial use, industrial waste coming to water. So it's interesting, like, although you have a lot of pressures in your MPAs, it's a bit hard to tackle with them because the measures in the sea cannot help a lot in this situation. Next slide, please. And this is a really long list, but I don't want you to read everything. It's just to explain that how many ecosystem components inside of HELCOM marine protected areas are under these pressures, and mostly gray seals, bottom water habitats, and also wintering and breeding areas for seabirds are under pressure in the MPAs. So, but just to show you that how many ecosystem components were analyzed in this process. Next slide, please. And mean impact per kilometer in HELCOM MPAs by country also showed us there's a harmonized distribution. Almost all countries' MPAs have higher than mid-impact level. So Estonia, Germany, and Finnish MPAs are under the highest pressure and impact. Next slide, please. Challenges. So as I explained, we tried to perform a tool, a cumulative impact assessment tool for which was used for whole Baltic Sea just for marine protected areas. But again, as I mentioned, we realized that most of these pressures are originated outside of MPA boundaries, and they require coordinated regional actions, but also land-based actions. So we also understood the importance of land-sea interaction here. The lack of enforceable mechanisms to regulate these transboundary pressures is a key barrier. It is because you cannot say to a country easily to change their agricultural practices or improve their wastewater systems in a very short time. It is a bit hard. And the data limitation, of course, we have a lot of data on pressures and activities specific position, but we don't know about the quality of ecosystem or their capacity or their vulnerability in a detailed way. So the data limitation is also a challenge to perform this tool to get a specific idea. So enhanced spatial resolution of data will be required. Next slide, please. And opportunities. So the first one is that this tool can be used in other regions and other sea basins, such as Black Sea or Mediterranean. So SPIA tool is a publicly available tool, can be downloaded. It's a GIS-based tool. The only thing should be done is that we have a sensitivity matrix for each ecosystem component to each pressure, connecting them also with the human activities, but it's Baltic Sea specific. And we could manage to get this specific metrics by having a lot of expert opinion related meetings. We collected experts. We have working groups on different topics, so we could ask them and confirm this sensitivity metrics for Baltic Sea. If this tool will be used in different sea basins, there should be several capacity building initiatives. Baltic Sea can show the way to produce the sensitivity metrics, but yes, region-specific sensitivity metrics should be created. And these outcomes were also presented to Helcom WhatsApp MSP working group, which is all MSP authorities of Baltic Sea countries are coming together and discussing MSP. And there's a specific roadmap action producing green infrastructure map. And we believe that these outcomes of cumulative impact analysis in MPAs will support these green infrastructure maps. Next slide, please. Yes, this is all from me. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Kemal. It's indeed very comprehensive, covering the entire Baltic Sea basin and summarizing the results for all the countries. It was very interesting. So if you have questions or comments to Kemal, please use the questions and answer section, and keeping them for the sessions with questions and answer for our discussion. So the next presentation is on the outcomes from the Belgian part of the North Sea test site, and it will be presented by Hannelore Hendricks, which is project manager at Marine Observation Center at the Flanders Marine Institute, Vlies in Belgium. So Hannelore, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, you can move straight to the next slide. Yeah. So Belgian part of the North Sea, or the BPNS, it's a small area that covers about 3,450 square kilometers, and that equates to being 0.5% of the entire North Sea area. So it's a very small area, and you can see it on in orange on the map. But there's a lot of activities that are going on in our marine region. There's fisheries, renewable energy, shipping, military exercises, scientific research, nature conservation, and of course also tourism. So it's very important to have a good maritime spatial plan in place that makes sure that economic, social, and ecological needs are all integrated, and that each activity has a space for it. Next slide, please. So that being said, Belgium is doing pretty well in terms of marine spatial planning. So the MSPs are legally binded via royal decree. We had our first MSP from 2014 to 2020, and Belgium, with that MSP, Belgium was kind of a pioneer in Europe. Currently, we are in our second MSP. So that's the map you also see here on the right. Not everything is depicted here because it's quite a lot, but these are the major things. Next slide, please. And then there's also the third MSP that's going to go into place from 2026 until 2034. So here you can see the full MSP plan. So you see that all the different colors represent something different. Lots of things, a lot of multi-use spaces here as well to try and accommodate everything. This third MSP has been proposed. There have been public and international consultations on it, and it's now in its finalizing stages. So nothing can change anymore for this. So the role of MSP4BIO here for Belgium itself, we are more kind of doing a validation to see how the tools developed in MSP4BIO can validate what has been proposed for new MSP, or if we can maybe even do it better. But so here on this map, you can see is just a representation of the currently protected areas that we have at the moment. So in green and orange, you can see the 5 Natura 2000 MPAs. So you have the Habitat Directive, which is in green, and then in orange, you see the bird protected areas. It seems like there's a lot of area being protected, but there's still need for better effective management and monitoring because a lot of human activities still take place in this area. Next slide, please. Then from the stakeholder interactions, some feedback in the beginning was that MSP has actually evolved towards effective collaboration and shared understanding amongst diverse representatives. Also, the consultation process has been evaluated and found to be fully transparent by WWF study. One thing that came up was that participation could benefit from more co-creation by agreeing on long-term goals rather than each sector defending their own interests. And with this comment, we actually saw that a framework such as SA framework could be very beneficial for this. Sorry, I'm quickly gonna put in my charger. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so the key management questions that came up through the different COP interactions are presented here. They were refined by using the SA framework, the different scoping practices, also by just feedback from our stakeholders as well. I'm going to focus here mainly on trying to show some solutions for the first and the second, and then I'm going to show a little bit of new data for the third and the fourth combined. So the main thing that we focused on was how to prioritize a location for the designation of an MPA, with the focus here of trying to find areas that could be strictly protected, meaning no human activities taking place anymore in the area. Then the second, what are priority areas for preserving or restoring reforming species, specifically focusing here on oyster reefs. Then the third one, how to include spatial protection of pelagic habitats. And the fourth one, how to include climate change into MPA measurements or in MSP planning. Next slide, please. Yeah, so for the first one, so during some of the COP workshops, we presented this map you can see here on the left, which has a couple of zones that were proposed or identified by the 4C Coalition, which are a couple of environmental agencies here in Belgium. And they already identified these zones based on the five things that are here. So basically, zones, they looked at zones that are already granted a protection status. They looked at zones where MPAs were already established, zones for seafloor integrity, areas with high biological value, and also areas with remnants or current gravel beds are present. So, and these zones, those were then proposed by them. And then we had the workshop with the COP members, and then we asked for trade-off scenarios. So we also used the C-Sketch tool that was discussed earlier in the Cadiz test site. And there we found that renewable energy, fisheries, sand and gravel extraction, and marine traffic were the main trade-off scenarios that had to be taken into account when proposing these zones. Now, so these zones were initially proposed by the 4C Coalition for actually being taken up in the new MSP. And I will show on the next couple of slides which zones then actually were proposed. But then what we did is use the ABC Planner, which is one of the MSP4BIO tools. So to look for area prioritization and optimization and see how well the tool, the tool would put forward are in line with those that eventually were proposed for the new and third MSP. So we did the same thing. We looked for the current nature conservation zones. We gave focus to identifying zones that had a higher degree of connectivity. We included the human pressures, so the trade-off scenarios. We also included nature values from key ecological microbenthic species, so the 5 major ones that we have here in Belgium. And then we also included the sandbank and gravel beds. We made for the nature value, we kind of made an infaunal map and then combined that with all the pressures. And then the output you can see here on the map. So in green and in orange, it's again just the existing marine protective areas already. Then on the right side, that is a renewable, that is concession zone, so that's a wind farm park. Then you can also kind of see in shade in the middle, that's an other wind farm park, but that one still needs to be built. And then in the purple marked zones, those are the actual strictly protected MPAs that are being proposed now or being taken up in the new MSP. And then the dark pink zones, those are the ones that came out of the ABC Planner. So you see that the one most offshore, that definitely overlaps. The one more coastal is a little bit off, but we noticed that because we put a higher, well, not pressure, but prioritize that we really didn't want areas where high fishing would occur. And that's why this one is a little bit more to the left, while the one that is being proposed now for the new MSP, that area is actually an area with higher biological value, but also in a higher fishing intensity zone. Then the biggest one in the middle, that's obviously the area that would have still had like the lowest amount of human activity, but it is a zone that is where new wind farms are going to be put in place in the next coming years. So a lot of work will be done there, which is quite unfortunate, but in another way, it's good for energy. And then there's a little small overlap there. So all by all, the ABC planner didn't do too bad, but it's definitely an interesting result that came out. And if by doing this, you know exactly where to give priorities to which pressures or to which nature conservation or nature values and so on. So the next slide. Yeah, and then we took this a little bit further. So when looking at reef forming species, so we took the same map from the ABC planner. Then we added the gravel beds that either are currently existing or that were historically there in the Belgian part of the North Sea. And then we also looked for some recent papers to identify places where oyster reefs had been known to be there or where oysters were found. And those are the ones you see in the red star. And then if you combine all of that, which seems pretty great because it falls directly in one of those newly strictly protected MPAs. But then if we add the shipping lanes, we do see that the shipping lanes actually kind of co-occur with that newly strictly protected MPA site. So that's a bit of a minor, although it's the lower part is heavily trafficked, and the upper part where you see the red stars is kind of like a lesser shipping lane. So it could be that there's going to be better management there in the new MSP. For that, I guess we just kind of have to wait. But another good thing here is that we have another project that has started, Blue Connect, which is also doing specifically oyster restoration. And we have shared our maps with them as well. We are sharing everything that we learned with them to see if they could use some of this data to identify the sites where they're going to do the oyster reef restoration. And I think it's definitely also worth mentioning that in the future, when the wind farms, the new wind farm zones are being implemented, that that zone, making multi-use of that area would probably be a very good idea to see if oyster restoration could happen there as well. Okay, next slide. So then for pelagic habitats and climate change, so we didn't have enough data and information to address these separate questions. But I did want to share some new data that just came out in a publication from one of the colleagues here at VLIS. And this was part of a project from 2 years ago. So what they did was a habitat suitability modeling from 3 major pelagic species here in the Belgian part of the North Sea. The study itself is way bigger than just the Belgian part of the North Sea. It covers from the Mediterranean all the way up to the North, Baltic, Arctic maybe even. So they used all the data they could find for pelagic fish, then looked at the response of in relation to temperature and salinity changes that you could predict for the coming climate change scenarios. And they obviously mapped that and then looked at the habitat suitability index. So the first map that you can see here, we just zoomed in on the Belgian part of the North Sea. So it's 2 climate scenarios that are shown here. The first one is the SSP2, which is a mild climate scenario. And then the one below is the most extreme climate scenario. So you can see the first maps on the left. Those are the current, so that's the baseline, so the current situation. And then you move on to 2030, 2040, and then you move on to 2090 to 100. So you can see that it goes from darker blue to a little bit more green. And the index says that if you're in the dark blue, then it's an optimal area. So it's suitable for the species to occur. When you go lower towards the red, then you become suboptimal and poor. So even here in the worst case scenario, you're still kind of optimal, suboptimal. So I think for now, we don't really need to worry too much. This is for the Atlantic herring. Then the next slide is Atlantic mackerel. So they start already a little bit suboptimal here in the north, basically for the North Sea. And then the next one is the sea bass. Yeah, and they pretty much have no problems whatsoever. Next slide. Yeah, so even though there are results now from climate change scenarios where they did some habitat suitability modeling, the data resolution is still quite low, so we still don't know really the local scale changes. Although it was brought up that maybe with our stakeholder interactions that on this small scale in Belgium, we might not even see an impact on the pelagic species here. But to fully make a comment on that, we need more data for this. And then cross-boundary management will obviously also be needed if we're talking about pelagic habitats. And then the last slide, yeah, so possible challenges. So what we did notice from our many COP interactions was that economic interests are still prioritized over the achievement of conservation objectives. Hopefully this will be a little bit better addressed with the third MSP. Then transboundary collaboration and information exchange is going to become a very important part of future MSP and conservation efforts. There are some good collaborations in place with some of the neighboring countries, but others are still kind of lacking. So there is still improvement needed there. Then for nature restoration and biodiversity conservation, it'll be interesting to see how the oyster reefs restoration project will be doing and how those newly strictly protected marine areas are gonna, what the results or the outcomes will be from that. And then the last one was one of the things that a couple of members brought up. Oh, could you just go? Yeah, that some of the members brought up was that for the conservation of pelagic habitats and the effects of climate change, the European legal framework of Natura 2000 might have to become a little bit more flexible and dynamic to allow for these transboundary, the transboundary collaboration, but also like the pelagic fish. Obviously, they're migratory species, and the areas might need to change depending on the season and depending on what happens with climate change. And that was it for Belgian part of the North Sea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannelore. And thank you indeed for these interesting new results touching upon the critical issues of climate change, predictions and scenarios. Thank you very much. So with this presentation for the Belgian part of the North Sea, we actually completed our first session of the webinar, and we are now following up with our session for questions and answers. So Ivana, I pass to you if you have already collected some questions. Thank you to all three speakers, and now we are looking forward to our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So actually, there are a couple of questions in the chat and Q&A section. The first one is for Javi and Javier for Cadiz Bay. I saw that you already read the message, so maybe you can respond to Anna Larissa.
Yeah, well, I already responded in the chat. Yeah, I was preparing the response, but anyway, yeah, I can share it speaking as well. Well, what I understand is that coordination and public participation is a process. So it's a process that has to be led from the very beginning to the end. And then to start one of these process, for starting, I mean, you have to ensure that you have some enable conditions. For example, to start a process of coordination in the Cadiz Bay without having shared objectives is going to be a failure. It's going to be a failure because we have done this in the past. So we have to create something to go for jointly, and then we create the coordination mechanism. Why? Because the managers here don't see coordination as something important in their jobs, in their work. What they are doing is to work for their own competence without taking care of the competence of the others. There are bad relations in this sense. So to create a shared agenda would be a good starting point to start the coordination in the Cadiz Bay. That is why we developed the first pillar of creating a shared agenda or a shared roadmap in the Cadiz Bay. Public participation here, well, the problem of the public participation is when we approach the public participation as something that is needed because of the normative, but then we don't focus or we don't address this public participation to concrete results. Then the people get bored, get annoying, and don't participate a lot. So for this sense, in this sense, what I think is there are some things to be achieved first, like for example, to train the managers here in the Cadiz Bay, for they to be able to design, to facilitate a process of public participation. If not, probably it's like a meeting when we all say what we don't like or we want without achieving agreements. We have to focus the public participation to concrete results, and we have to also give a feedback. I have good examples, but not in Cadiz Bay. Yeah. In Cadiz Bay, I think the process is starting and can start, but for starting, it's not just to start building a mechanism for coordination or for public participation. We have to create the conditions for that to be feasible in the future, in the long term, is what I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kemal. Maybe I can ask also Anna, who made this question, if there is any comment from her side, or we can go to the next one.
Sorry, to jump in very quickly, for the recording, would be better if we read the questions so that it stays on the recording, because the chat won't be visible there. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Agnese. Thank you, Anna. So the next one comes from DG Mare, from Celine. It's on the Baltic Sea presentation about the transferability of the Baltic sensitivity mapping tool. What would be needed to make it applicable to the other sea basins? Could EMODNET help this transfer? And is this tool already used by all Baltic states to update their maritime spatial plans? Kemal provided links to reports and to the tool in the chat, but please, if you want to comment and provide some additional information, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Ivana. I was trying to be fast in my presentation to catch the time, but now I can talk. Thank you so much for your question, Celine. And this tool should be made applicable in other sea basins in a way that this tool can be applicable in other sea basins, but there are several steps that sea basins or countries should follow. But first reminder is that in MSP4BIO, we tried different decision support tools, ABC Planner, PlanWise for Blue, SPIA from Helcom, tools for MSP from CNR, C-Sketch, and I can go on. What we saw that many of these tools, especially the ones focusing on the cumulative impact assessment, are functioning with the same strategy, with the same methodology. So the most important thing is that your data is clear and consistent and reliable. So any country or sea basin who would like to follow our approach that we followed in Baltic Sea, first of all, they should collect data on ecosystem components. And just as you highlighted, EMODNET is the most important helper for any MSP planner in Europe for this. We collected data on 50 different ecosystem components, but of course, we have Zostera Marina in Mediterranean. The data should be for Poseidonia or other ecosystem components, so that in order to follow the same approach, first the data collection. Second, the relationship of these ecosystem components with the pressures and impacts. And MSFT Annex 3 is already providing all the pressures that we should follow. We used 17 of them. So when you think about a sensitivity matrix of 50 components, 17 pressures, it should be 850 cells. And to define this sensitivity matrix, or to understand the relationship of seabirds and physical loss, or Zostera marina and physical disturbance, you need to collect the experts from these specific pressures and these specific ecosystem components together. And that is the most tiring or long process. But I really believe that there are these experts and expert groups in all the other sea basins that can be followed in this way, and then they can also clarify their sensitivity matrices. And there are several literature, there are several scientific papers that can be used also. And the final question, is the tool used by the Baltic states to update their MSPs? Honestly, in their first plans, first cycle, all countries try to follow their own tool. So as I highlighted in the beginning, for example, Estonia used PlanWise for Blue, or Sweden used Symphony tool, and Germany used their own cumulative impact assessment tool, because first, countries believe that regional sensitivity metrics even can change in the north of Baltic Sea and the south of Baltic Sea, so they prefer their national sensitivity matrices or national sensitivity scores. Further, our tool is using 1 kilometer square spatial resolution that I know that countries are preferring like 250 meter kind of spatial resolution, so they prefer this specific one. But all the outcomes are shared in our HOLAS assessment, which is a regional environmental assessment. I shared the link, and the tool is in the link that I shared again in the chat, is downloadable, and it's open source, so anyone can play with it. And actually in MSP4BIO, we played with the tool and we modified the tool and focused only to the marine protected areas in the Baltic Sea. So yes, I think tool is there. Anyone is interested to apply this tool in their sea basins can reach to me, to reach anyone from MSP4BIO. We would love to help. And I think we will have these webinars and capacity building activities to uptake this tool, and kind of transferability of these tools will be discussed in our deliverable 5.3 and 5.4. So you can be updated also by downloading these deliverables. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kemal. Let me check, is there anything else in the chat? Celine, I hope you're happy with the answer. Is there maybe anyone who would like to raise your hand and just ask the question, open the mic? This is, of course, also welcome. The chat option is sometimes easier, but please, if you would like to ask anything, just raise your hand. Okay, I don't see anyone asking for the floor. Well, we have still 3 presentations following this one, where also other tools or results of the testing of other MSP4BIO tools will be mentioned. And yes, well, Margarita, according to the agenda, now we are supposed to have a short break. Maybe I would suggest maybe to take a really brief one so that we can, finish on time. What do you say?
Yeah, thank you very much for the questions and comments. Of course, if you have any other comments and things to share with us, of course, you can reach us, Kemal said, to any one of the MSP4BIO team. We will be happy to clarify and to help with the applications. So we are approaching to our short break now. If there is no any other questions or comments by the participants, we can close the first session and to go for 20 minutes short break. Yes, Ivana?
Yes, fine by me.
Okay.
Let's make this break. Maybe we can do 15 and go back at 2:40, so
Yeah,
that we can really make sure that we finish on time.
Yeah. Okay. So let's come back here at so maybe 10 minutes after 2:30. And we will continue with the second part of our webinar with presentations and outcomes from the other test sites in the MSP4BIO project. Thank you very much once again for the interesting presentations in the first sessions. Thanks to our speakers, Javi, Camila, Kemal, and Hannelore. And see you after the short break. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you in a bit.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so I see the people are coming back. So we are continue with the second part of the MSP4BIO webinar to showcase it and to demonstrate the results and outcomes from the ecological socioeconomic MSP4BIO integrated framework and decision support tools, results from applications and results from our proposed special and strategic solutions. So the next presentation in this second session is for the second test site in the Atlantic Ocean. It's from Graciosa Island in Azores, and it will be presented by our colleague, Deborah Gutierrez, who is researcher at the University of Azores. Deborah, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Margarita. Good afternoon to everyone. I hope everyone had the time to grab a coffee or a tea and are ready for more interesting conversations and results. Within Graciosa Island, it's a really tiny island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And we do have as mainly activities the tourism and the fisheries, the local fishermen community. Within our study case, in the COP interactions, we have performed the trade-off analysis, as the others already mentioned, this application tool. And this is the guideline step by step on how to develop this approach of trade-off within a perspective of different activities and balancing economic, social value, and ecological features. We already made the entire webinar dedicated to it, so I'm not going to overlap it here, but I will certify that you all receive the link for this webinar in the future. Basically, we use the participatory mapping tool that the colleagues already mentioned, the SysSketch, to gather their perception, including the climate change that were already mentioned as well. And we overlap all these perceptions with the layers that we had available on ecological features. And also we have assessed the ecosystem services values that we have in the place in this small island, and we validated and ranking with them which one would be the most important for their activities. Can you go to the next, please? So here you have some of the results that are available in our SysSketch project platform. We have assessed the conflict areas important for conservation, areas important for the development of their own activities, among other ones. And we checked with the environmental conditions that we have there, and we come out with an interesting proposition. Next slide, please. This area, it's a proposed expansion of an existing marine protected area. The stakeholders in Graciosa Island have mentioned that the area is really important for them. So we are proposing an expansion, but with the model of a UCN 6, where activities are permitted within this MPA, but with a sustainable approach. And for that, can you please go to the next slide? We have translated the material about fisheries and tourism to Portuguese, and they share their knowledge and the main good practices of those activities in other areas that could be implemented together with this MPA extension. Next slide, please. We also translated the important components of the EASY framework. You already saw this slide in English within Martina's presentation. So we translated to be more accessible to our stakeholders and to support their understanding about what we have been doing in the collective. You can go to the next one, please. And we have proposed to apply parts of the EASY framework within some specific group of criterias and targeting and trade-off analysis. And all of these exercises were translated also to Portuguese and validated with the stakeholders. And we did have a great feedback from our stakeholders about what is working and what could be improved to the reality of the Graciosa Islands. Next one, please. And this is the web tool that we just saw earlier. I'm not going to enter further on that, but it's just to showcase that we do have a lot of material there where we can adjust and adapt to our own reality. That could be for a small, tiny island until the entire Baltic area, as we saw previously. Next and final one, yes. So this is the updated map from Graciosa Island with the input of our fishermen communities, with the fisher management areas alongside with the marine protected area and with the proposal of the MPA expansion. At the moment, in Açores, we are together with the project Blue Açores, we are reviewing all the marine protected areas. The offshore areas were already defined. And at this stage, we are going to review all the coastal zone marine protected areas. And this proposal will be forwarded to the local authorities to be incorporated in their system to be implemented in the nearly future. Yeah, I think that's it. Exactly. Thank you very much for listening me. Now we have more time for discussion.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deborah. Thank you for really keeping the time. If you have some comments or questions to Deborah, please feel free to write in the chat or questions and answer section. We will answering to them after the presentations. And now we are moving to the Northwest Mediterranean to demonstrate the outcomes from their applications and suggested special solution. And I'm happy to give the floor to our next speaker, which is Olivier Laurussin, who is Deputy Director for Maritime Spatial Planning and Large Projects at CEREMA, Center for Studies on Risk, Environment, Mobility and Urban Planning in France. So Olivier, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Margarita. So just a short presentation of the test site. It is Northwest Mediterranean. I put a map there with the existing MPAs in this geographical area. The test site is between France and Italy. Okay, we know that Monaco is behind us, but very small EEZ, so we didn't matter so much. And we put on the map also the MPAs from Spain, because you know, there is this huge marine mammal corridors, and of course it will be part of the analysis to take that into account. So the state of play in this test site in terms of maritime spatial planning is that the MSP in Italy has been recently approved, and in France it is under revision, and it is expected to have it approved before the end of this year, 2025. And sorry, can you stay on the first one? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit long for the presentation of the test site, but The focus of the test site was about conservation priorities and the expansion of and efficiency of the current MPA network. So that's why I put this map. And we had in mind the target of 10% of strictly protected areas, and also that marine mammals and deep sea habitats were having high political attention. And it was what we had as a message from the managers for our test site at the beginning. Okay, can you go to the next one? But actually, it didn't work this well, because after preparatory work on deep sea habitats and marine mammals, we had, let's say, an important workshop last October showing that for deep sea habitat, no problem, we can follow up. But for marine mammals, we were in a wrong track, because it's highly migratory species, huge distribution areas, and well, it didn't fit with the question of 10% of strictly protected areas. So I reformulated the topics. We kept the deep sea habitats, but saying, okay, deep sea habitats is a question of urgency of protecting the most vulnerable habitats, and it's no longer a question of having 10% of strictly protected areas. It's a question of complementing the existing maritime spatial planning with strict reserve for the most vulnerable habitats. And while we would like to do something with marine mammals too, and we reformulated the topic as a strategy for deep sea ecosystems. How can we have 10% this time, 10% target for ecosystem conservation at the scale of the sea basin, and using marine mammals as indicators as well as deep sea habitats. So we will encompass the whole ecosystem. Can you please go to the next slide? So if I look more precisely about the deep sea habitat urgency, as I call this first strategy, and following the EASY framework, I will present it through the practices approach. It was said that there is several ways of entering the EASY framework, so that's quite interesting. So I will do it through the practices typology. And the first question is about scoping. Well, the management question is which priority for strictly marine protected areas. Management objective is conservation of deep sea benthic habitats, and the management approach we want is to be selective at MSP level, and our geographical area is all this Northwest Mediterranean. So now, who is concerned really in terms of human users? For deep sea habitats, it's fisheries, cable disposal and research, and probably it's mainly fisheries that we will take into account. The ecological toolkit of EASY is giving us a few indications about how to focus our process, and of course our target is deep sea benthic habitats, and then you can identify the criteria how to prioritize species and ecosystem for conservation. I would say that at the end, the most important have proved to be the list of species and habitats that already exist in the Habitats Directive, or in the fisheries management of the Mediterranean with their vulnerable marine ecosystem indicators. And of course, we have all these ideas about prioritizing ecological elements and some macro criteria to guide our process. Can you please go to the next one? Now, some more detail about the other strategy, the other topic, deep sea ecosystem strategy. Then the management question is how to set up 10% of strictly marine protected areas. The objective is conservation of a deep sea ecosystem. When I say ecosystem, it's not only benthic habitats, but it's the whole ecosystem. And deep sea is 200 meters depth and more. The approach, again, is a selection of areas at MSP level. So we are looking for a network of strictly protected areas. And geographical area, you can see on the map, it's a red line. So we took, on this map, you have the two vocation maps of Italy and France. And so we took only the zoning concerning 200 meters depth and more. We are only at the west of Corsica. So it will be my area, geographical area. Our temperate scale is mid and long term. Of course, we are looking for strict protection for long term. And then we have a little bit more human users concerned, because maritime traffic then is quite important, tourism, but also military and disposal and research. Yes, I think we can look directly to what is important. Yes, please go to the next one. So the other practice in the EASY framework is about data collection and presentation. And I make the promotion of MSP4BIO data compilation. It's very useful. You can access quite all existing data, and it is organized. So, for example, in this slide, I think I choose the Northwest Mediterranean and the nature value. And well, I have 4 proposals. And of course, you are then to look at the portals, etc. But it's really convenient to find the existing data. Now, rapidly, you have problems with species, because there is too much species, I would say. And if you have criteria for selecting species, then you have to look at the data for each species. It's quite really a problem. Can you show the next one? Yes. But you have some way of looking at all the species together. This is a map from OBIS with the diversity of observed marine mammals. And you see, it's not where the marine mammals are, but it's where the highest diversity of species. So it's quite important for what you will do. The next one. All the data we collected was put in a map viewer. We are not using C-Sketch, but we are using another map viewer, but I think it's functioning quite in the same way. And here, for example, you have all the areas about deep sea habitats and also the data about pressure from fisheries. So I would say that we added from the existing data some proxies, such as the OBIS map. You know, there is something already encompassing the data about species and defining important marine mammal areas, for example, or vulnerable marine habitats, so ecosystem. So, well, we are using that in priority, and also some experts' advice. So the map viewer is one thing, and last thing is a storyboard to engage stakeholders, to engage the public, to raise awareness. We have this storyboard. You can scroll on the left side, and you read the text, and at the same time the maps are different and showing what is said in the text. Next slide. So now if I look at next practice, which is analysis and diagnosis, in the case of deep sea habitats urgency, here's a map identifying the important areas. So we put on the same map all vulnerable marine ecosystems known from different sources, the habitat sites set up for benthic habitats. And so you have the important areas. Now the pressure, please. Well, the pressure are mainly fisheries, and you have the black lines, the black areas that are where there is the most impact on these benthic habitats from fisheries. So it will serve the next step to, of course, propose some strictly protected areas. We had problems in dealing with connectivity and climate change. So because, well, there is not so much about No, please, can you stay on the... Yes, so just to say, for connectivity, we just consider that, okay, there is a current from east to west, and that we will have to do with that, and climate change, that we have to look at the depths and having a large range of depths in each protected area. So next one. And now, in terms of prioritization and designation, this map is very important. We had the opportunity of benefiting from the ongoing process in France. This map is coming from the public debate organized by the National Commission for Public Debate with, well, huge budget to do that, more than the budget of MSP4BIO altogether. So they did quite a lot of workshops, meetings, information, participation in all kinds of surveys, etc. And this map is the synthesis that the Commission tried to do about what the people think about where to put the strictly protected areas. So there is quite a lot of green spots along the coast. Okay, it's not for me because I'm looking at deep sea habitats, but there is two important areas seen as a priority for strictly protected areas: the slope of the continental shelf in the Gulf of Lions, and in the southeast of Corsica, quite a huge area also that the public is considering. This should be the priority. And also this area, you know, that Spain is claiming to be Spanish waters and France is claiming to be French waters. Well, the public is saying, okay, take that as a possibility for collaboration for a strictly protected area. So it's quite interesting. So please, next one. So we look at the situation. Where are the known deep sea habitats? Where are the biggest pressure? And we proposed in purple, so mainly priority in where there is pressures, where there is already MPAs, to complete the existing network with marine reserves, nature reserves, so strictly protected areas. But we also consider that there is this fisheries restricted area in the Gulf of Lion that is at the moment is banning bottom trawling, but not all the year, so all the year round. So we think that this could be a complementary measure. Next one. So at the end, the proposal is this network of purple areas for nature reserves, and the strategy is there, strengthening existing MPAs, complementing them where there is the most threatened habitats and no MPA, and having a collection from east to west because of connectivity, and having areas large enough to encompass a large range of depths. Of course, you can tell me that there is nothing between Monaco and the western part of the Gulf of Lion. Yes, because there is already existing national parks in Les Calanques and Porco. So you have really a network encompassing all the east-west gradients. Please, next. And now about deep sea ecosystems. Well, there again, the important areas, where are they? We have the existing MPAs, so probably it's a part of the job. Next one. But we look at this marine mammal data. Abundance of marine mammal in the Northwest Mediterranean for aerial surveys that have been made several times. And you see there is these yellow spots. So in the part of the previous map where there was nothing, but there is something, so it will be taken into account. And for pressures, oh, it's strange. I don't have my pressures. Okay, no problem. Next one. So, and the pressures are coming from maritime transport and fisheries. I hope the map will appear later. Yes, next one. I hope it will be on the next. Yes, okay, here it is. So I delineated some important areas in the big areas in blue, and then I put the pressures from fisheries and from maritime transport, the main line of transport. And inside the red, the blue, sorry, areas that are the important areas, I delineated also some green one in the Gulf of Lion or in the coast near San Remo and Nice. That was supposed to be highest priority, including for the public. Next one. And so now the strategy is there. We will have a network. We will use the existing vocation maps of the two Maritime Spatial Planning to say, okay, I have a credit of 10%, but if the priority is for nature, then I will do more. And if not, I will try to stay on the 10%. Next one. So here it is what is coming out from the vocation maps from Italy and France. The dark green is where nature is priority, and the light green is where nature is one priority among others. Next one. And from that, in dark, the areas are the proposed marine protected areas, strictly protected. In terms of trade-off, looking in priority in these areas where nature is given for priority, we think we already have some elements, conclusions from the trade-off made during the Maritime Spatial Planning. But now you can look more precisely, and we try to put the nature reserve where there is not so much burden for traffic and for fisheries. I would say that except in the western part of the Gulf of Lion, where there is probably a strong discussion to have with fishermen about the benefits they will have in the mid and long term if they stop right now to do fishing in this area. For the other ones, I think it's more or less in the planning of the nature reserve that we solve the problems. And next one, and it's the last one. So here is the result. In orange, you have the new network, and in green, you have the existing network. So it's just adding somewhere and helping to implement with more strength in other places. And again, you have this question of network from east to west and having areas large enough to encompass a large range of depth. That's all. A few remarks to end my presentation. From this experience, I would say that the question of the data, the integrated knowledge, somehow is missing. Species is for a manager is not really manageable. Ecosystems would be much better, and okay, there is still some work to do. I would say also that about species, the problem for us is that it's often database from observations, not from systematic sampling. So you cannot be sure that there is no presence of the species in places where there has been no observation, no inventory, so things like that. So, and last point, you understand it was a cross-border test site. No problem for cooperating between experts, much more difficult to have stakeholders or the public working together for such a test site. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Olivier. It was really very interesting, and I think it's a great starting point for the discussion on strict protection for this transboundary important test site of Northwest Mediterranean. Thank you very much once again. If you have questions, please write in the questions and answers section. Okay, so we'll continue with the last MSP4BIO test site. We are going now to the Black Sea. I will present the presentation, the outcomes for the Bulgarian part of the Western Black Sea test site. The Western Black Sea test site is a cross-border test site between Cape Tuzla in Romania and Cape Kaliakra in Bulgaria. So Mariana will follow up after me with the Romanian part. So the Bulgarian test elaborated spatial planning solution focus on integrating marine protected areas and maritime spatial planning by applying trade-off analysis and cumulative effect assessment. So the Bulgarian test site includes diverse marine protected areas, also different domains, coastal, onshore, offshore. But on the same time, we have numerous existing or emerging activities such as maritime traffic, coastal maritime tourism, fisheries, also newly emerging blue economy sectors, because the area is one of the most promising for the developments of offshore wind farms. But also there are planned developments for offshore aquaculture. So all these existing and newly emerging activities overlap with the current marine protected areas or the enlarged ones. So that's one of the challenges. Also, we address gaps, lack of operational management plans for marine protected areas, as well as need for improved coherence between marine protected areas MSP processes. So in our solution, we aim to identify namely the potential conflicts arising from a scenario an existing MPA, because the test site is one of the best ecologically preserved sea areas to be proposed for the development of the existing marine protected areas and potentially to be integrated in the current state of Bulgarian MSP plan. So we also focus to integrate in MSP trade-offs and cumulative effect assessment. One of the EC1 plan-wise for blue decision support tool that has already been mentioned. And our focus was to preserve the valuable mobile species, namely marine mammals. All our developments, also management needs, application, testing, and solution were co-created and validated with the established communities of practice in the Black Sea. Next slide, please. Okay, so the key management questions in the Bulgarian test site, highlighting the main concerns and needs, and also addressed by the EC integrated framework and decision support tools. They were prioritized with our community of practice members at the second interaction. So these are mainly how to assess compatibility of maritime uses and MPA's conservation objectives. But the biggest question is how to evaluate cumulative impacts and trade-offs in MSP and marine protected areas. Next slide, please. Okay, so to answer those questions, we, as I've mentioned, we use the trade-offs decision support tool and the cumulative effect assessment of the plan-wise for blue tool. So the trade-off exercise, including participatory mapping survey using the C-Sketch tool, was conducted in November 2023 under the Deliverable 4.3. And using a flexible methodology provided by our colleagues from University of Azores, including guidelines for trade-off analysis and portfolio of arguments. So we explored two elements of this portfolio of arguments for the discussions with participants. with our community of practice members. First, trade-off between environmental protection and economic objectives, and second, trade-off between ecological integrity and human uses. So this is a map resulting of C-Sketch participatory mapping survey co-created with one of our community of practice member who is marine biologist, expert of marine mammals. So you can clearly see on the map the proposed new marine protected areas with high concentrations of 2 species of marine mammals. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have also co-identified synergies and conflicts together with our participants during the participatory mapping survey. Participants highlighted that synergies exist actually between coastal maritime tourism, marine conservation, as well as fisheries and underwater cultural heritage. Military training exercises do not have synergies with other uses. About the conflicts, most of the participants clearly highlighted 2 major groups of conflicts between coastal maritime tourism and military training exercises, and between marine protection and also military training exercises. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next tool that we use from the EC integrated framework, as I've already mentioned, it's cumulative effect assessment of the plan-wise for blue. So we explored 3 scenarios for the 3 mammals species, Delphinus delphis, Phocana phocana, and Tursiops truncanthus. Because the data, special data for the mammal species was with a bit coarse resolution, and also these are mobile species, so the application goes beyond the scope of the test site, and it was extended up to the exclusive economic zone of Bulgaria and Romania. So we explored 3 scenarios. The scenario 0 or present scenarios correspond to the current human use conditions, including military areas, fishing, shipping, and marine protected areas. In scenario 1, we analyze cumulative effects of wind farms, aquaculture, military areas, and shipping, thus representing the future activities, but at the same time maintaining the current shipping military zones. And scenario 2 reflects all the human activities that remain the same, except the shipping intensity is doubled in the same areas. Next slide, please. Okay, the same scenarios for the next mammal species, Phocana phocana. Next slide, please. And the same scenarios for Tursiops truncanthus. So all these 3 outputs clearly provide a gradient of conditions, including the current situation, also integration of future activities, but as well as intensity of some of the human activities, and thus providing different informative alternatives for the spatial planning and marine protected areas management. Next slide, please. Our special solution for the test site was consulted and discussed and validated at the 5th COP interaction this January with our community of practice members. And we also discussed few options for integration of the solution in MSP and MPA's processes in their current stages. Briefly mentioning, these are institutional cross-sectoral enable coordination and improve coherence, but also supporting adaptive marine protected areas management by integration of trade-offs and cumulative effect assessment in maritime spatial planning, as well as for prioritization designation of marine protected areas, because two processes, MSP and MPA's management and designation, are still separate processes. On the other hand, maritime spatial planning should integrate all the newly proposing and extending marine protected areas. And last but not least, capacity building and training in MSP planning and MPA management authorities in order to effectively applicate and implement the suggested proposal. Next slide, please. And we have learned a lot during the process of application, elaboration of the site-specific solution. First, trade-off exercise and the Seasketch participatory mapping survey, they offer a valuable platform for engaging diverse categories of stakeholders, but also to for dialogue and for diverse feedback collection. And the plan-wise for blue cumulative effect assessment could be considered as a key tool because it provides comprehensive assessment of the impacts of human activities on natural values. Next slide, please. And of course, some challenges and barriers still exist for the implementation of solution. As I've already mentioned, newly emerging blue economy sectors in the test sites, such as offshore wind farm developments, but also planet offshore aquaculture. So this map clearly show the zones for allocation of the areas for developments of offshore aquaculture. This is a product of a deliverable from MSP Green project under the new action that we have proposed for Bulgaria. So you can see that in case of enlargement of marine protected areas, that might be overlapping with the proposed new areas for offshore aquaculture developments. I've already mentioned lack of operational management plans for marine protected areas, data gaps, and in particular insufficient high resolution spatial data for cumulative effect assessment application, something that has been already mentioned to other tools, and insufficient digital mapping skills among the stakeholders, which might impede the effective implementation of the Seasketch mapping. Next slide. And this is the final one. So having all these results from the application of the MSP4BIO EC tools and our special site-specific solution. So it's time now to consider how these results could be transferable and could be scaled up to the other test sites, but also at regional level and across Europe. And specifically for the regional level, for this Black Sea Basin, our recommendations for scaling up are the following. First, strengthening transboundary collaboration, and this could be done as by establishing Black Sea community of practice, aligning the maritime spatial planning and MPA's integration with the regional strategies such as the Black Sea Convention, the Common Maritime Agenda, but also with the important EU strategies such as the European Biodiversity Strategy and European Green Deal, in order to involve also the non-EU Black Sea countries. Certainly continuing dialogue with the regional key actors such as the Black Sea Commission and the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization that would really support ensuring uptake of results at the Black Sea Basin level, and finally enhancing integration between MSP and Maritime Strategy Framework Directive through a common regional approach. This is something that has been considered as highly relevant by our community of practice members. So that was all by me. Thank you very much for your attention. And now I'm passing the floor to Mariana Colombiano, who is together with our colleague Alina Spina. Unfortunately, she's not here. So they're from the National Institute of Marine Research and Development, and they will present the outcomes for the Romanian part of the Black Sea test site. Mariana, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Margarita. Thank you also, Ivana, for organizing the webinar. Unfortunately, Alina, which is coordinator of the project, is on the sea expedition. So I will be very happy in the end if you have any comments or questions to address her. So, considering the main focus and objective of the test size case and propose planning solution, our test site is located in the southern part of the Romanian, from Tuzla Cape and Vama Veche, with a total of 2,300 square meters. So the shoreline includes low-lying areas like sand barriers and pocket beaches along the cliff, rising up to 30 meters. So it's combined natural features with built structures such as port and coastal defenses. So Pilot, it's located in a heavily anthropized area, which is characterized by intense urbanization, harbor operation, industrial activities, and tourism. The main economic and logistical functions turn around maritime transport, with Mangalia port serving as a hub for commercial, touristic, and military activities. So additional key uses include tourism and its infrastructure, local fishing operation, and extraction of hydrocarbons marked by the presence of submerged gas pipelines. Next slide, please. Relating the gaps and challenges, identified lack of management plans or regulations. So many MPAs expanded or designated after 2010 still lack updated management plans or specific regulations. This is problematic because management plans are crucial for setting the clear objective, defining conservation measures, and ensuring the sustainable use of marine resources. Lack of effective custody. So without proper enforcement and monitoring, MPAs can struggle with operational management. The absence of monitoring programs and control over human activities like fishing, tourism, or industrial activities within MPA's boundaries can render the protected areas ineffective in preserving biodiversity and marine ecosystems. Also, gaps in there are significant gaps in scientific knowledge and marine biodiversity. So, in our understanding of the current biodiversity of marine species, their habitat and their spatial distribution, as well as ecological connectivity between these habitats. Marine protected areas and marine spatial planning, while MPAs are recognized as crucial tools for protecting coastal and marine ecosystem, the planning process for marine spatial planning may not fully prioritize or allocate space specifically for the establishment of MPAs. The need for better understanding of multiple pressure and impacts on the marine ecosystem are considering how human activities like tourism, fishing, and marine transport all contribute to these pressures. Another important issue is relating the political context of the Black Sea has led to an increase in both the intensity of commercial transportation and the intensification of military training in the area, negatively impacting marine ecosystems. So the COP members, in collaboration with our team, identified the following socioeconomic criteria as priorities. So it's an essential for creating employment and income through non-traditional activities. Is significant also for fishing activities, play an important role in development of economic sectors. Also, it's important for shipping operation, considerable scenic for leisure and activities, support the presence of iconic and habitats vital to the local community, also holds a significant scientific and educational interest. So the area needs management due to conflicts between the special users. Next slide, please. So for the planning solutions, the key guidance management questions were how to assess the compatibility of maritime uses and MPS conservation objectives, and how to evaluate cumulative impact trades-off in MSP and MPAs. So therefore, next slide, please. We establish an participatory mapping where we use the sketch and GIS software, also used to collect data on marine activities, area of interest for habitats, also with high ecological value and species like mammals, conflicts and synergies and future users for marine space. So the main goals of the Romanian part of the test site were to identify these conflicts and synergies between various human users. Also to identify the areas where marine habitats with very ecological conservation value can be protected, and how can we establish this strict protection without any human activities. To evaluate whether the development of blue economy activities and which can create conflicts with the current users, to determine the stakeholder perception of climate change and how they should adapt it, and to identify where it would be convenient to create transboundary marine protected areas for marine mammals. Next slide, please. So therefore, the conflicts identified refers to the marine protected areas and other activities, fishing activities, and MPAs, conflicts between maritime transport and MPA, which largely connectivity, a connection with pollution, marine litter, and invasive species introduction, and conflicts for military training and MPS. Future users marine space within a pilot's site is aquaculture as an emerging blue economy activities. So we investigated to carry out the mariculture activities, and in the beginning of 2024, Romania started the tender procedure for the lease and areas designated for aquaculture and economic sector, and extraction of non-living resources, oil and gas, including its infrastructure. Next slide, please. So the cumulative impact effect assessment, we're using the plan-wise blue C tool that quantitatively assess the individual combined impacts of human activities on natural values. So the inventory of human activities, which was based on the participatory mapping process and the pressure in the test side area, along, of course, with the available spatial data, ecosystem components, marine mammals. Also, Margarita mentioned about these three species, Tursiops truncatus ponticus, Phocena, which are included in the Annex 2 of the Habitat Directive. And of course, all this conservation requires the designation of special species, and also another species like Delphinus delphis, which is included in Annex 4 of the species of community interest in need for the strict protection. Next slide, please. So we use these three scenarios, present current cumulative effects of military zones and shipping under the current condition of these three mammals species. Scenario 1 was analysis to cumulative effects of wind farms, aquaculture, military area, shipping, representing a future state to include plan aquaculture while maintaining the current shipping and military zone. And the second scenario reflects a scenario in which all human users remained the same, except shipping intensity in doubled. It's doubled in the same areas. So there was mentioned that preliminary findings showed a 5 to 15% decrease in marine mammals occurrence in scenario 2 compared to the current situation. Next, please. So for the potential benefits related to the implementation of site-specific planning, there are some of the contribution for a better understanding of the cumulative impact of the human activities and special distribution to marine mammals. Also to support the coherent conservation priorities without the MPA. Also to support the establishment of management of protected areas for citizens corresponding to the areas and habitats provided, of course, important food resources. But to date, no areas for the protection of dolphin species have been demarcated in the Black Sea, especially feeding the habitats. So also supports of the establishment of coherent and representative network of MPA in Romania and Bulgaria. And as well as opportunities for using CA tool at the national level to implement European directive and strategies and support the national obligation. Next, please. Therefore, to assess these cumulative effects of human activities on marine ecosystem on the national level, it's essential to evaluate and combine impacts of various activities such as bottom trawling, oil and gas extraction, aquaculture, considering also their interrelation and synergies. So the solution applied for MSP4BIO tried to respond also the need to a better integration of MPAs into MSP, representing a good opportunity to propose a solution that can be applied at the regional level and a common approach for both countries, Romania and Bulgaria. And in the regional level, it's supporting water management. The TIA tool can be proposed to the Black Sea Working Group, which is also established. The group was established under the Agreement of Cooperation and on Water Management was signed in Bucharest in 2004 by both Ministry of Environment and Water in Romania and Bulgaria. Also, proposed planning solutions could indeed serve as a valuable framework for implementing marine spatial planning in other parts of the Black Sea basin, particularly in countries like Turkey and Georgia that are already engaged in their MSP process. So, focusing on assessment and cumulative effects on human activities and pressure on different ecosystems, as I mentioned, that was in a national level in Romania. So, also at the Black Sea basin level, the main environmental threats include the loss and degradation of biodiversity, habitats, eutrophication, impact of fisheries, maritime transportation, and also we have mentioned about the potential challenges on environmental, like special distribution of species, high resolution banding, habitat mapping, and socio-economic and pressure data, and also the lack of collaboration between Maritime Spatial Planning and MPA authorities to integrate economic development strategies and conservation objectives. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mariana. Indeed, as a cross-border test site, we actually adopted a common approach for the exploration of potential conflicts, for designation, prioritization, extending of the existing marine protected areas, and how to really shape the maritime spatial planning to be coherently also integrating the marine protected areas at national and cross-border level. Thank you very much. So with this presentation, we end the second part of the MSP4BIO webinar. Sorry. Okay. We are now coming up to the second questions and answer session. Is there some questions, Ivana?
It seems not. I'm checking the sections. I think it's already a bit late or long, a lot of presentations, but I hope participants find them useful. I would just invite everyone once more, if you would like to raise your hand and ask or comment something directly, it's also, I mean, you're also more than welcome to do so now. If not, then we proceed with conclusions.
Okay. So
it seems not.
Yeah, there are not questions. So everything is clear, and we are really happy that we succeeded to and managed to present our outcomes and to demonstrate the results from applications and from our site-specific special strategic solutions. So I just would like to make a short wrap-up of the results. So we, as I've mentioned, we have learned a lot during the entire project and during this process of testing, validation, interactions with the communities of practice, and finally coming up with the proposed solutions to really to address and to reflect to the identified management needs in each of the test sites. So what we have learned and achieved so far as benefits, as enablers for the solutions, really for transferability of results. So first of all, this is stronger collaboration between Maritime Spatial Planning and MPA authorities. Also improve prioritization of marine protected areas using not only improved ecological criteria that we have achieved in the project, but also including socioeconomic dimensions, as we have demonstrated in our presentations using the integrated tools of trade-offs exercise, participatory mapping survey, cumulative impact assessments, PIA, also ABC planner. And then participatory process that was at the heart of the MSP4BIO. And it's still in the heart because we still have a lot of achievements to showcase and to demonstrate. And this really strengthened the stakeholder engagement, interactions with them and among them in a more informal way to start discussing and to start integrating important issues of maritime spatial planning and marine protected areas management. Data and science-driven decision-making is something that is really important and critical for effective implementation of the integrated framework of the MSP4BIO ecological socioeconomic integrated framework. Its tools and assessment, especially the decision support tools. So as I've already pointed out, the insufficient high resolution spatial data might be a barrier for this. And indeed, there is a new momentum for the discussions on strict protection measures, as we have seen from the presentation made by Olivier. Next slide, please. Okay, so of course, there are still many challenges that exist. First, starting again with data gaps, lack of high quality spatial data, and then the limited capabilities in mapping digital skills among the stakeholders. It might be a challenge to effective implementation and application of the suggested solutions of the integrated decision support tools. Next challenge is funding constraints and also misalignment of the MSP and MPA processes that we have identified and that we have tried really to address in our site-specific solutions. But all these issues and challenges highlight the need for ongoing support for more policy coherence, something that is set up in the forthcoming European Ocean Pact, and we are looking forward to this pact and to its operational implementation, and of course to transboundary and cross-sectoral and sea basin collaboration. Next slide, please. And unlocking opportunities and what are the next steps after Deliverable 5.3. So in order to ensure broad impact of our application results and site-specific solutions, the MSP4BIO project has rolled out really comprehensive knowledge transfer campaign to equip the key actors of maritime spatial planning authorities, marine protected areas management authorities, but also our community of practice members with tools, with insights, and with confidence to act in the future. Having now all these important results from the EC framework testing, from our specific solutions, we must evaluate to what extent these results are scalable, could be adaptable, transferable beyond the test sites across EU sea basins, but also globally. So this is the next task that is follow-upping in the next deliverable 5.4. And also to map out the opportunities, the key challenges, enabling conditions that are needed for the successful implementation of our solutions, and I would say for their uptake and operational implementation in real processes. So thank you very much once again for your interest in our webinar. Thank you for to those that staying with us until the end. We really appreciate your attendance. We appreciate a lot your comments, feedbacks. Please dive deeper into the deliverable, into our innovative and creative solutions for accelerating of biodiversity protection in maritime spatial planning. Going to our MSP4BIO website. Also register to our newsletter to stay tuned for future updates and stay connected with us, because we shape the future of science-based maritime spatial planning and biodiversity protection when marine protection goes hand in hand with human activities. Thank you very much once again. I pass to Ivana and Agnese for their closing remarks.
Thank you, Margarita, and thank you everyone for the presentations and discussions. Thank you for staying with us. We are aware that 3 hours is a lot of time to dedicate to a webinar. On the other hand, we really thought that this entire work needed to be presented. And this is in brief. We are aware that we provided a lot of information, but please, we are available. Get in touch with us by email, through MSP4BIO website. You can find our contacts, and if we can, discuss more or provide some of our materials, we are very open to it and very available to do so. I would only add that we will organize more webinars now in the months of May and June, and soon we will send all the dates, hopefully, for all of them, so that you can plan, because we still have some material and work to present and share with everyone. So stay with us, and hopefully we will have you with us also in the next webinars. I see some comments in the chat from our project officer, from Ria, and also from DG Mare. Celine, thank you so much. And thank you so much for all the support during the entire project implementation. Agnese, if you have anything to add before we close.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, to stay with us for, as Ivana said, quite a lot of time. I would say the last kind request to please register to our newsletter, because this registration of this whole webinar and the upcoming ones will be featured there. So in case you're interested, everything will be available there, and you will stay always in the loop with everything that concerns MSP4BIO and its development. Thank you so much.
Okay. With this, we can close the webinar. Have a great rest of the day, and stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.